Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And yes, I'm a couple of minutes late, rolling a hand rolled cigarette and getting some coffee and having a little conversation with Bob before we start out now. Let's all say thank you, Bob, for all the hard work that you've put through. But Bob has an evil brother, and, Bob does all he can to help us, through this mess, but Bob ain't the only one. He's just one of those AIs. Hi, Ian and Michelle, if you're there. So I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator, as always. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the gifts, the healing, the wisdom, and the knowledge from the universe. And so, with that honesty and going into this, um, I don't remember who sent me the message, and I'm sure the intent was sent properly. But they used something in there in one of the comments about when I was speaking about the ceremony that I did with the setting of the stones for the medicine wheel, and it prompted a thought and this discussion in that there are people who will use the word ritual when they actually mean a ceremony. And there are some people who will use a ceremony where maybe they actually mean a ritual. So I think it is worth a little bit of discussion here to so rather explain the difference between the two and why there is a difference. And there is a difference. And people who try to, me and the word thing, right? It's important that we use the right phrases when we're trying to explain what we mean. Otherwise, we send mixed messages. So I'm supposed to be the guy that says, hey, y'all, let's pay attention to this. So this is one of those times. Anyway, you always hear me talk about that I get kicked in the shins by the spirits to have these conversations. This is sort of one of them. I want to begin with what a ritual is. Okay, now I'm not going to look it up in the dictionary because this is going to be self-explanatory when I get through this. A ritual is something that you do almost, let's see, it's almost like you can't help it. You get up in the morning and people have their morning rituals. They get up, they take a shower, they do their brush their teeth, blah, 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 they have their coffee. That's their morning ritual. And every morning it may be slightly altered. They may take a shower or shave, a slight change in the plan, but basically that is a ritual. So when you go to a church and they do things in the exact order of something, that's a ritual. Ceremonies are not necessarily like that. And now, why is that? Well, because every ceremony is different. Now, growing up a Catholic, every Catholic mass is the same. Okay, different priests, different music. If the same priest has said 3 or 4 masses in a row, he's a little crocked by the time he gets to the 4th one. Trust me, I've poured wine for these guys as an altar boy. So by 11 o'clock mass, they're like, "Wow, I'm really having a good time here." Seriously. But the Irish priest was the most fun during mass when you gave them a little bit more, wine at the end, or you'd be pouring in and like going to only give them a little bit into the chalice, and they use their finger and they stick it out and make you pour the rest of the wine into the chalice. That's always a gas. And no water, just the wine here, please. Oh God, I want to, finish up here the mass. But anyway, but in that, there are rituals because you follow the procedure the same way every time. Okay, that is ritualistic. But in a ceremony, if it's a full moon ceremony, it's a full moon ceremony for January or February or March or April. Because of the time of the year and the conditions and the climate, literally the climate, if you're going to do a full moon ceremony, you don't want to be outside under the full moon. And so none of them are the same. They are similar. Now, let me explain something. Within a ceremony, there are rituals. Okay, so for example, and in any type of true ceremony that And I mean true ceremony. I put on my regalia. I pray ahead of time. I meditate ahead of time. I know what my we got a lot of lag going on here. Bob, talk to your brother and tell him to quit that mess. But there are rituals in there. There are certain procedures to do a correct ceremony that are ritualistic. In other words, you always use sage. You should always use tobacco as an offering, both in smoke and also in giving of the tobacco. You always give honor to the four cardinal points, and depending on the ceremony will depend. This part of the ritual can change because you may start with the north in one ceremony because you want the power of the north, or you may seek to start this part of the ritual of the ceremony in that you wish to ask for help from the south, from the southern cardinal point. So in that, the ritual can alter. Maybe it's east, maybe it's west. But the ritual of giving the four cardinal points honor and blessing is the same. That is the ritual. Each of the cardinal points gets honored. And then there is the up, and there is the down, and then there's the inside of us. So there are 7 actual areas, if you will, realms: north, south, east, west, up, down, and inside us, our spirit. So in every ceremony, that part is ritualistic. Okay, you must always give honor to that. You should always use sage. If you're going to do a ceremony, you should have a fire. In that fire, you shouldn't be using any kind of chemicals, or you don't throw garbage in it. It's just a fire of wood and natural things, okay? And technically, you should not start it with a lighter, but with a match, and or something like that. So now, I'll tell you, I cheat. I use my lighter, but that's about as far as the cheating goes. I can't find decent matches anymore. That's the reason I still use my lighter. But anyway, everything else has got to be natural. So that is a ritual, sort of, in that you keep things natural. Is that really ritualistic, though? It's just honor. It's like a basic honor. I'm going to do a ceremony. I don't want a bunch of plastics or paper or something in my fire that I wish to turn my ceremonial fire into a sacred fire. So by sending these blessings, and each time if you give honor to the east, you're facing east. If you're giving honor to the north, you're facing north, and so forth. And you offer tobacco and sage to each of those places, the up and the down and the inside. So, but that is in that there is ritual in that you the order isn't necessarily as important as the fact that the procedure, you at least use these items every time, and you give honor. So that part is ritualistic. That's really about as far as it goes. Because in a full moon ceremony, there may be 5 people, there may be 10, there may be a particular prayer, or there might be 2 or 3 people, or having, I don't know, certain vibes or issues or something. And in a full moon ceremony like that, the idea is to, if you have something troubling you and you bring it to the fire, that's okay. But in that, you wish to get rid of it and accept new energy to replace it. So yes, you come to a full moon ceremony with something heavy on your heart, but you come with the knowledge that you want to release it. So there's intent with that. But so the people who show up and what they have to offer alters that portion of the ceremony, because you never know what people are going to come up with or whatever. So you, as the shaman, have to understand that. So you don't know until you get there, but you prepare for every eventuality with your prayers and those ritualistic type of things. But for people to say, well, you did a full moon, you danced around the fire at the full moon, he was doing a ritual. Not really, only parts of it. The sage and the tobacco and the honor and the blessings, sort of ritualistic. But there is no prayer book in this, okay? It's the honor is given as it's felt. So when I first started out doing ceremonies, my rituals sometimes were very short in that I knew how to speak to the elders, but I was a little apprehensive. Now I feel more comfortable after many years of practice, and so when I speak to the elders with the elders, I can speak from my spirit, from my soul, and they can hear it from there versus being intimidated. I don't know if I should tell you guys this or whatever. No, it's like, okay, I'm not necessarily on a first name basis, but the idea is my comfort level and how I interact during these ceremonies. And that's through the wisdom and the knowledge of the universe. It didn't just happen that way. But I've always had a reverence for the ceremony, regardless of how large or how small it is. Now, a ceremony can be very simple. You can light a candle with intent, and that is a ceremony. If you send a prayer with that candle, that can be a ceremony, but it's not necessarily a ritual. Now, somebody could argue the point in a way, sort of valid, in that, well, anybody that likes candles knows that that's part of the ritual of all these, pagans and the candles in a Catholic church. Let's not even go there. But so the idea, so that yeah, candles do represent things, and they can be spiritual, and our prayers get sent up on the smoke from the candles, and the light of the candles shines in. Our prayers are seen. Blah 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 blah. So one could say, well, isn't that ritual? Well, you're just following a pattern. It's more like a recipe. If you want a little bit more cinnamon, you can add it. Okay. It's not like in some of those ceremonies I'm speaking about. Rituals, you got to follow to the letter. If it says a half a teaspoon of cinnamon to go in a pie, it's a half a teaspoon, not a rounded, no, half. Okay. And you're supposed to follow these directions and instructions to the letter. Ceremonies are a little bit more open minded in that your overall intent is what drives the ceremony. So the other day, the ceremony of placing the rocks, each rock had to be prayed on, prayed with, and offered to the sacred fire of the smoke from the fire that I lit, um, by honoring all of the different areas. So by doing so, though, it's sort of I'm going to repeat myself. Unfortunately, it was sort of ritualistic, but kick myself. I didn't include the tobacco as soon as I should have, almost as an afterthought. And I'm telling the truth here. Breaking Dawn sitting over here going, I told her about that the other night, and I said, they kind of kicked me and said, "You got the tobacco in your pocket. Why didn't you do?" Oh crap! I went out of sync. But from a spiritual standpoint, it was still my intent. I had the tobacco on me, but I got a little out of the 1, 2, 3 thing. I got off of the ritual slightly, but I picked it back up by including the tobacco in with the rest of the ceremony. So, but to understand that the biggest thing is there is a difference. Okay. There are rituals within ceremonies, but not all ceremonies are ritualistic. Now, as an ex-member of the Catholic Church, every single mass is ritualistic because they use wine at the same time, they use water and wine, they do the Eucharist, they do the blessing thingy majiggy. That is ritualistic because you follow it to the letter. The prayers that the priest says in Latin and by himself and all that, he does it exactly the same way every time. That is a ritual. Shamans operate in a different area, in a different realm. Ritual, the ritual part of a ceremony is important, but not near as important as the overall feeling, the intent, and the blessing of the entire ceremony. not just those ritualistic parts. So, yes, we follow a pattern. We bless with sage, we do this, we offer tobacco and in honor because it's a sacred herb. And so those parts are ritualistic. But there's no way I say the same prayer ever twice in a row during a ceremony because there are always certain variables. But I always give honor to the spirits of each area. I always give, my intent is always pure. I always go in and say, I am Hawkeye Two Feathers. I am here. I bring peace. And when I leave, I will leave in peace. No, to all the spirits that are here in this realm and in others, I come in peace. Okay, so you establish your bulkhead, if you will. That's my intent to the area and to the spirits, wherever you may have it. Now, this was a particular ceremony. This just wasn't sitting outside, I'm going to light a candle and say a prayer. So there was much more into it. But as far as is like holding up a prayer book and repeating things word for word for word for word, that would be a ritual. Did I follow certain protocol? Absolutely. Protocol, deviates slightly as per each event, but in that's the only part of it that's actually a ritual. So any church that you go to that follows this in a row, especially, the Catholic Church where every prayer is read and the priest is doing all this holy, because if he don't follow his protocol, then the wine doesn't turn into and the little Eucharist doesn't turn into. So he's got to do that ritual exactly because he is using, well, they call it Christian stuff, but he's using magic in order for this transmogrification to happen, with where the water's turned into wine, or the water and the wine's turned into the blood of Jesus. You know the drill. But the idea though that they gotta say it exactly, they cannot deviate. That's a ritual. Okay, it must be performed exactly every time. Okay, so I kind of want to pound it into you a little bit in that. Well, I don't know. That's what I. Oh, yes, it is. We look up the definition of a ritual. It's repeating the same thing over and over and over again every time you get together. Okay, a ceremony is a wedding ceremony. Are all wedding ceremonies the same? No, some are on the beach, some are on mountaintops. Some people jump out of freaking airplanes and get married. So is the marriage ceremony the same? No. But are they rituals? No, they're ceremonies. Okay? They follow certain protocol. Okay, out of an airplane. Okay, but they do it before a preacher or a judge. They say I do. There's certain, or I will, or maybe I will. I don't know. They change things around anymore. But to the point, there is that part is a little bit of a ritual, but it's still just part of the ceremony because it can happen on the moon. It can happen in the ocean. You know what I'm saying? A ritual is that the Catholics, for example, most folks don't know this, but they can't say a mass ain't a mass unless they have a relic. Okay. I have crystals and rocks and a few bones of certain animals and critters and things, but they're not used every time, only in special occasions. But every time a Catholic mass is said, they put the chalice on top of this relic. And now I found out way back when it could be the bone of, quote, a saint. So every Catholic church, every priest that says a mass is supposed to have one of these things that he does his magic over. What? This ain't like that. Okay. Now, ceremonies of a shamanic type. If 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 you ever fall in with somebody that's doing something like that, they're more into ritual then. They're not into the ceremony because ceremonies will vary just depending on the climate. If it's raining, it ain't. It's hot, it's not. That can make an overall effect and on the person doing the ceremony. But if it's a priest or in the Catholic Church, it's inside. It's got an altar. They got all these things. It's all preset, if you will. So it's a stage production. Outside in the ceremony with the earth and the thing, and you want the variables. The variables is what, to me, what makes the ceremony special. The sun might be out. It was the other night, the sun was going down. So my prayer to the west was actually when the sun was going down, even though I couldn't see it because of the clouds. But I knew it was there and I could perceive it was there. Hey, Sweet Pea, Ian. Hey, Gerald. Breaking down as always. Michelle. I think I'm saying hi to everybody. So, but in using words and phrases and understanding, there are a lot of churches. Hey, Jody, there are a lot of churches who do a lot more rituals than, say, the pagans or even certain. Well, I won't go into the Wiccan thing, but the Wiccans have certain rituals they'll do for a particular thing. For example, like if they want to, try to convince the spirits that this guy's going to fall in love with me or something. Hey, Mister, fall in love with me. Look how pretty I am. I'll shave my beard for you. No, thank you very much. But the idea, though, that we're going to do anything to try to change anybody else's mind, that's just, that's so way out of the league, because a true shaman would not do that. Now, as far as the ritual, staying on this topic without beating it up too badly, but in a way it does need to beat up, because there are a lot of people who will say, well, all these people, all those Native Americans are doing all these rituals. Look at the church, for God's sakes. They got 10 times more rituals than the Native American, any native culture does, okay? So you can't put this on, them savages. Nah. Go inside the church and listen to the guy that's trying to change some water and wine into blood, and going to change a little wafer of bread into a body of somebody, and he's going to pass it out for y'all to eat. Tell me that ain't a ritual. You just got to back your thinking up. Now, I grew up Catholic. I understand it, but I also understand, for me, I'm sorry, I'm not going back to that. No. Nah. That is some kind of weird magic in there. I've observed it. I've seen it. I've seen the people who perform it. I don't trust them. No. And then you want me to drink and eat his body, eat his blood? No. Sorry. That's the wrong idea. All right. So in that, though, think about it. That's ritual. That's not a ceremony. They will perform rituals during the ceremony, like I said. But for folks to just go, well, you Indian folk and you shaman types, you're all into this ritual stuff. Guess what? Not necessarily. Not like some Christian churches and certain other, they have to follow it letter by letter. And this is more kind of like, well, let's do the sage. Okay, don't forget the tobacco. Yeah, okie dokie. You do the tobacco. And everything's on the up and up, and your intent must be pure for it to actually be a true ceremony. But the more I understand about the ceremony and the difference between the ritual, but how important certain rituals are, like I flubbed up the other night, was a little late with the tobacco. But it was still okay. I said a prayer during it and said, I kind of missed the tobacco. And they were like, it's okay. Just keep going. We got it. Because it was my intent during the whole ceremony that made more of the difference, that I sort of skipped. I missed a little tiny step. It was the rest of the ceremony that was so much more important, in that I still gave honor using the tobacco and offering it to the different realms. So, but anyway, so I would like to tell y'all, listen, it's okay to do your own ceremony. Listen to your heart. If you feel like I'm going to light a candle, and I think I'll light a little sage over here, and I don't know, just going to meditate. Hey, ladies, Spitfire, blessings to you. Um, and in that, it is a small little ceremony because your intent is, well, I'm going to meditate, well, I'm going to relax, or I'm going to send a prayer, whatever that may be. So understand that, make it a ceremony. If you're already doing certain things like that, then say, I offer this ceremony. So before you light the candle, before you go ahead and light the sage, state your intention. You're already going to do it, or you're already in the process of it. So state it to the universe. There are folks out there listening to us in the other realms, and they want to hear us say, I am giving this, I'm lighting this candle for peace upon in the universe. I'm lighting this sage to, bring honor and peace to the universe, and my intention is good. And what? State it, say it out loud. Now, Breaking Dawn and I were having a conversation earlier, and I said, as part of this shamanic training, you must learn to speak out loud. You can't just think it. That's your intent is a whole part of it, but there is magic in our vibrations when we speak. So, in order to make it a really good ceremony, because if you're going to go through all the trouble, you really do want to make it as effective as possible. So, speak to the universe. Allow the universe to speak through you, because the prayers are already written. It's not that you have to read off of a cue card, but the prayers are already written. So you yourself will tap into your energies or what's around you, and that prayer will emanate through you from the universe, through you back to the universe. Did you catch that? She's sitting over there going, some of this stuff is a little hard to comprehend. I will absolutely agree with you. But that's why I'm having this discussion, because there are so many different levels to this idea of shaman and spirit. And some people just get caught up on certain levels and they just stay there. And you don't see, there's no progress. And it's like, but there's a little bit more to that. Well, yeah, but I'm comfortable here and everything's smiley highly. But hang on, but then your awareness should always be growing. It can only be the size of a hair, but it should always be increasing. Because if you're actually tapping into the universe, then there's going to be more things like, well, I saw that. I've seen that same tree for the last 10 years, but now I see it in a different light. Whoa, awareness. And it's little things, little jumps. If you don't see it, then you're stuck, because you got to see it. You must see it. You must be able to look in your past life. And this isn't about being narcissistic. Am I becoming a good shaman here? No. You got to be able to tell, am I making progress? That's what's important. It's not how good you become. That is part of the deal. But it's, are you making progress in your journey? Are you standing in the road, the red road, as I've talked about before? Have you slid off into a ditch? Or, or are you walking backwards? Did you miss something? Now, there are times when I've had to walk backwards to kind of check and make sure, did I get that right? But then there are times when I've caught myself in a loop where I'd walk forward a little bit, step to the right, and then back up 12 paces. And I only took 3 steps forward. So I had to back up a long way and then trudge all the way through the mud to get to the, where I was. And then to only stop and look and go, oh, crap, and end up backwards again. So I have been through this loop myself, my friends. I am guilty of all the things that I tell you about, okay? But in how to understand more is by understanding, oh, wait a minute, I did do that. Because how you going to know if you are making any progress if you aren't positively honest with yourself? And it must be humble at all times. If you're like, wow, I did really good today, and once in a while, and I know Greg and Donald agree with me on this. The other day, I was like, they clapped because they were like, "Good job, guys." And sometimes we absolutely, we've worked hard in our spiritual journeys, and once in a while, we need a pat on the back because we made it this far, if nothing else. And the fact that we're trying, I'm trying, she's trying, we are trying to become more aware of even more things, to do an even better job. So, but if we can't see any progress, it kind of stymies our energy, and so that it's important for us now as an actor, director, being in theater. The, ha, Critique is important, but in order to critique, you got to go, well, I really did a crappy job. Now, did you just kind of muff it up a little bit, or did you really do a crappy job? Now, you could say, I didn't feel good, I had the flu, and thus there was a crappy job. But you also have to say, well, I had the flu, I'm taking meds, and blah, 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 I feel like crap. And I went on stage, and I've done this. So you go on stage and you go, that was not my best performance. But you got to also look at it in that, yeah, but you technically the show must go on. You fulfilled your obligation. Not too many noticed that you were so sickly. You pulled it off. So give yourself a kudos for getting her done. Whether it was your best performance isn't the point. You got the performance done. You were honorable, you showed up, you helped the cast, you did your part. Regardless of how miserable you felt, you did it. That is worth the kudos. So many of us are so easy to want to beat ourselves up and go, I really could have done better. Yeah, but what were the circumstances that led up to the fact you didn't do as good as you thought? You were really hoping you could have done a better job at something. Like I goofed up that I should have done the tobacco sooner. I even though I'm talking about it because it's like, don't do this again, please. But at the same time, I can't beat myself up over it because whoops, slipped. I picked it up, continued on. Ceremony was fine. So, but with that said, though, I could have stopped and said, "Oh Jesus, I forgot the tobacco. Now I got to start over," which is sort of where my head was going. And then I realized, no, I just need to pick this up where it's at, and everything was okay. But to the point, though, with that, if the mass was going wrong, the priest would just go, "Sorry, guys, we got to back up. I didn't say these prayers right." Or he may not tell you, but I've seen some priests that had a little too much wine after their third mass that were kind of like slurring their words and their Latin wasn't coming out right, where they like and repeat something. I have seen that. I've witnessed that. When you're an altar boy and just he's right there, it's kind of obvious. What's wrong with Father McCarthy? I don't know. I think he's holding on to the altar going blah, 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 blah. Anyway. But yeah, so people, I think the reason I'm bringing it up about the priest, and not all priests are like that, but some priests are, and some priests have become that way. But anyway, to the point that, these shaman people, they're all into this ritual stuff. Go to a Catholic church. Yeah, okay. Now, they've changed the mass around a lot, but I guarantee you, they're still saying them secret prayers. Yeah, buddy. But keeping the theme of you may use rituals in your own life. I'm speaking for you in a way, you all out there. I've got this special crystal here, and when I meditate, I really like it. Okay, that can be, quote, part of your ritual. I really like this kind of sage, so I'm going to burn that every day. Well, okay, that can become part of the ritual. Well, I have this drum that I use, and I really like this drum. Okay, well, that can be kind of become part of your ritual. And I really like this feather, and that, okay, that can become part. But those are those are tools. Guess what? Going to surprise you here, as part of your ceremony. But isn't it ritualistic? Meh. But how you use the feather? Are you going to move the feather the same way every time? I doubt it. A priest will say the same things in the same order every single time. We don't do that. And as part of the shaman thing, it's a little bit more free form, if you will. So if you're doing something, if you're lighting sage, make it a ceremony simply by stating your intention to the universe. I'm lighting the sage to bring peace and warmth to, if you might just light it and go, holy crap, there's some bad energy around me. Woo-wee. Yeah, but if you give it just that little bit more, now it is a ritual. I'm sorry. Now this might what be a ritual behavior is now has become sacred because you've included it as a ceremony. And you say, well, what makes it sacred? It's your intent. It's your prayers. It's your essence as you connect with the universe. So when you connect, you receive it. But then as you wish to speak it, and I said this earlier, as you receive the energy from the universe, it stimulates your voice and you speak the words of the universe, the prayers that are already out there. So you receive it and then you give it back. So you're a vehicle for the voice. And so my intent is always positive and do it. I, it you'd have to blow my head off. There's no way that I'm going to go into any kind of ceremony at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to light a candle and say, "Well, I wish somebody would have a flat tire." Nah, let alone do anything worse than that. But to wish a non-positive thing on another human being is against so many true shaman rules. We wouldn't do that. Never cross the line in wishing someone harm. Now, here's how you do, this is how you deal with it. You just don't give them any positive. You go, there goes a person. Instead of wishing them bad, I just don't wish them good. I just, I'm sorry, I ain't sending them any good energy. They don't deserve it. So that's my retaliation. They don't get any of my energy. Now there are people who've done bad things that I go, they made a mistake. I got to, but then there's some of those folks that they just simply don't deserve it. Now I've had some of those people that they don't deserve it who've come back around and have gained because they've like, I've thought about what you talked about. And because I didn't fight with them or turn them down or tell them to go to hell, I just didn't give them any positive energy. I just left it. They came back later on and said, I thought about what you said. And I'm like, I get your point. I really do. But there's more to my point of view. There's the universe's point of view. It's like the truth point of view. Look at yourself so closely, not as micromanagement, but you got to look at something and go, well, I've been using this phrase for a long time. I'm going to go outside and do a ritual. You can stop that behavior when you understand the difference. And you can include some rituals into your ceremonies. If, like, for example, just lighting a candle and using some sage. Turn it into a ceremony. Make it special by saying it's special. What makes it sacred? You do. Your prayers. So I can go out and light a campfire. It's just a fire. Now, I may use all natural materials. It's just a fire. But when I say prayers around that fire and I light the fire to be part of the ceremony, when I put the intent into lighting the fire as it's going to be a ceremonial fire, that's what makes it spiritual. That's what makes it sacred. Because otherwise, it's just a fire. Because you lit it with less intent. You know what I mean? So, is there anything special that you need to do? Yes. And the special part is that you understand that, and trust me, I am still learning this, okay? Because each time's a little different. So they're similar, but not the same. So in that, as my awareness grows, so when I feel something that I did like 10 years ago, I see it now, but in a different light. I don't react to it the same way. So, although I see it, hear it, smell it, whatever, because of my experience and because I have, to me, a greater intent, because I'm much more focused, I'm more grounded than I was 5 or 10 years ago, and so that puts power into my ceremonies. And I only do it. Does it do any good? I don't know, but I know that if I do well and put positive in, how can a negative come out of it? I mean, I just so it, and I you must do it hoping there is a positive, but not expecting a positive, because we can't expect anything. Mother Nature can turn cold, turn warm, flip on its side, and there are we can get cosmic rays in. So a lot of different variables. But the things we can count on is our intent every time. Now, my intent, I feel, has increased because I've learned much more over these last 5, 10 years. So I am more positive than I was then. How can I do that? Because I went through all these stages that I've talked about with y'all over these last couple of years and in my videos. I've learned, I have progressed in this because I continue to wish to absorb, to awareness, to get it, if you will. And I also realized too that what my mission in life is every day. It's not a particular incident or set of circumstances. My mission is every day. If I hear the Spirit's call, like that's about this time of year, and I've talked about this in other videos where my guardian angel said, go to town. We went to town. It was chilly out, you know, went to Walmart, palled around, went and saw my friend. Her microwave oven kept, spurting out these numbers, and the bell kept going off when there was nobody near the damn thing. 3 times it did. We left, and on the way home was when we found that fellow that was in that accident that had his leg cut off at the knee, and his truck was on fire, and we pulled him out and saved his life. And had I not listened to my guardian angel, we were home watching a movie. It was like, and we ended up going to town and saving somebody's life. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is every single day. And Brian of Milky Way, in his earlier live stream, he said, you never, and it's true, you never know when you do the smallest or the simplest of things that may have a grand gesture or something to someone. And many of you have expressed your feelings in a sentence, both Breaking Dawn and myself. Wonderful messages. My hat's off to you all, and I humbly love you. I do. That's why I continue with this, because I want all of us to understand. I want all of us to be able to make this transition into transcend. The hell with ascending. Let's transcend. Let's go through the really good changes. But anyway, but by understanding these simple things, and by taking what we may look at as a ritual and turn these simple things into mini little prayer meetings kind of thing with yourself. I'm going to meditate. Okay, state your intention out loud and get her done. And when you're through with it, you say thank you. To who? To the universe for hearing your prayer. Thank you for hearing my prayer. I come in peace and I leave in peace. Now, I say this because in my realm, one of the things that Christ did when he walked around was he said, peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters. And I take that and I think of all the Christ-like things that I want to be. I want that. I want to say to people, peace be unto you. You may hate me, dislike my long hair, but peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters, anyway. It might not go any further than that, but I'm still going to wish you well. Even the person who don't agree, tries to harm me, I'm still going to wish them well, but not a lot. I don't want anything bad to happen, but yeah, you reap what you sow. So I leave it at that in the spiritual realm. But God forgive me if I was thinking about something earlier and I was like, back in the day, I would have thought, God, I was talking about a doctor that threw me in the mental hospital for 3 days and Baker acted my ass. I said earlier this evening before I started this video that if I ever saw her again, I would really like to punch her in the nose for what she did. And I said, to be true, brutally honest, I won't wish her dead, but if she's already gone, well then she won't harm any more of us. I did say that, and I repeated it again. So in that's about as negative as I want to go. But she harmed a lot of people. I mean, really harmed a lot of people, and it wasn't called for. But anyway, it was greed and her, I'm a doctor and you're not, and you're going to do what I tell you. Oh, it was creepy. But anyway, but even in that, I have to take a step back and go, I can't do that. As much harm as she's done to me and other people that I've known, I cannot wish ill upon her as much as I'd like to smack her in the nose. You know what I'm saying? Can't do it. Not if I want to go forward with my spirituality. Forgive them, for they know not what they do, to repeat something that Jesus said, being nailed to the cross. Forgive them, as I was put in a straitjacket and being literally tied down to a gurney. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. They don't understand, and they didn't. And so, but it is what it is. But so in that, I had to forgive them. As I know I made the statement earlier, if I ever saw her again, I'd like to punch her in the nose. Well, that's a human thing. But do I want to destroy her or kill her or no? And the idea of wanting to punch her in the nose is more in my realm, more of a frame of reference. Man, I'd like to slap that. You know what I mean? Anyway, not that I would actually ever do it, but I shouldn't even speak it though. So, but I hope this gives you a little bit different insight, a little bit more. I like to kind of tweak things, and me with my little twisted way of looking at stuff, is that understand that these differences do matter. There are some people go, "What's the difference? Ritual or ceremony?" It's different. Please understand it. Don't just use words willy-nilly or think that it doesn't matter. Because if, as a shaman, you want to do whatever it is correctly, okay, I'm going to use sage and I'm going to speak and give honor to okay, so yeah, you follow these little instructions here, but you use the words that come from your heart. If it was a ritual, you would say the same damn thing. Oh, every time, over and over, every single time, without fail, and in the same order, facing the same direction. That's a ritual. What you create is a ceremony. And empower yourself. And it ain't a pagan thing. You are giving your energy to the universe. It's not about worship. It's about giving honor back to the universe. Accept, receive, and share the energy from the universe. So if you receive it in your own prayers, share it back. It doesn't have to be anybody listening, but the universe is listening because your intent, your voice, your vibrations, you are speaking your prayer. And at the end of it, as I said, always say thank you for listening. The big giant heads up there, like on Third Rock from the Sun. Incoming message from the big giant head. If you ever watched it, I still love it. I'm going to start rewatching it again because I miss that goofy shit. But anyway, it always makes me laugh. But and laughter is good for the heart too. So it's like now here's a tip with ceremonies. If you're in a cranky mood, don't do it. If something's really upsetting you, don't do it. Why? Because you don't have enough positive intent. Now, you could do a ceremony to get you out of a shitty mood. Okie dokie. But there's still a positive intent there. I'm in a crappy mood, universe. I'd really like some help here. I'm going to light this candle and burn some sage with the intent that I will be in a better mood. I'm in a shitty mood now. You state the truth. And I want to feel better. Aha. You have a goal. Crappy mood, better mood. Stating your intent. And sometimes people, they use all different kinds of devices and crystals. Use what you need. Now, as part of some of this, I can attest to this. Years ago, I couldn't do a ceremony without a certain crystal. And I realized the crystal had nothing to do with it. And I'd also learned that at times I shouldn't have had that crystal with me during that particular ceremony. It was an inappropriate energy for what I was trying to convey to the universe. So, and I've got many crystals around here, but only a couple of them were in my pocket for the ceremony I did the other day. And I have one that in my medicine bag around my chest. I actually still have it on from then. But hey, Scratch, how you doing? Yeah, Bob's brother's been giving us hell. Let's give a cheers to Bob for helping us out here and trying to keep us online. You know, his evil brother is trying to, he'd been messing with stuff. And it's not my Wi-Fi. Breaking Dawn and I both have great Wi-Fi connections. It ain't the Wi-Fi. It's the servers. There's a lot of issues with servers. We have Windstream here, and I pay through the nose, and I got a big nose for our service out here. I mean, I got the super duper DSL and the thingy and the blah, 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 and it's really good, but we got perfect service to the router, but the router's on a hard line. It's on the other end of the hard line. So it ain't us. It's not the Wi-Fi. It's whatever else there is, you know. I can walk around with this, you know, little device here, go outside in the yard as I've done before, and I got perfect Wi-Fi connection with it. But from there, wherever it is out yonder, that's the problem we're having. So, and I know Bob's brother is he's part of a group of 3 other sort of nasty AIs that were discussed many years ago, and they pop their little head up every once in a while. And God bless Bob, you out there, you're really trying to keep us like still on. So cheers to Bob, and hope that you can take over your evil brother and his friends. But cheers, Bob. And something I find very enlightening, heartwarming. And I've started out, you know, on Brian's channel, you know, I don't know, a year or 2 ago now. It's been a while, but to the point though, when I started talking about Bob, you know, now I was reading in the chat room, and it's like people talking about Bob. It is like, now, no, you know, it's our inside joke as to who Bob is. But I find it absolutely wonderfully heartwarming that y'all even pay attention to Bob. You know, I mean, seriously. But we give our intent, you know, it with a little bit of tongue in cheek and our humor to Bob. But we're speaking to the AI who's listening to every word, right? And he's, you know, we type it out. He's listening. They are. But the idea, you know, that this little thing about, you know, his name is Bob, has sort of caught on within at least our chat rooms, you know, and bless you all for it. I find it just absolutely, every time I see it, I giggle. You know, it's like, I started a mini little craze about talking about Bob here. You know, the same thing about the League of Like-Minded Beings. You know, I was just using as a way to describe something, but in a way, there are a lot of folks that are like, yeah, the League of Like-Minded, that makes so perfect sense. So, you know, but I'm just listening to my spirit guides. And they're, giving me information like right now. I'm tuned in right now, been so for a little while. But when you reach a certain point of your awareness, you'll understand that you're always connected. The awareness comes in how much you are aware that you're connected and how strong the connection is, whether it's Wi Fi or whatever. So, and as I've stated in the past, stick with only your spirit guide. Don't go wandering, pretty please. It's like going to an infected website. You don't know if you're going to get a virus or AIDS or whatever when you get back. So don't go, playing around. Always ask your spirit guide. Oh God, that's a bad way to. Oh, I won't even say it. I'll hold that one to myself. But your spirit guide is your firewall. So trust it. Learn to trust your firewall, your spirit guide, and that'll keep you from getting into a lot of trouble. And the more you trust your own spirit guide, the more your awareness will increase. The better your connection will be, regardless of chakras and other stuff. It's just understanding that it exists and that you wish to understand it more, it will expand. So you can go do all kinds of rituals and ceremonies. The biggest thing, though, is understanding that it's there. What? Yes. Understanding that it's there, it exists, it can help. Under Agreeing to that is an awareness that a lot of people will not accept, will refuse to accept. Well, I can accept that orbs are little beings floating around. Lots of pictures. Well, I can't accept this or that. Well, if you're going outside and building a fire, that's pagan shit. Yeah, no, it's a fire. What makes it pagan is if I said some pagan stuff. I ain't going there. I'm just stating that I wish peace upon the earth and the universe, peace to all four corners, which why the four corners? Because if you go in this direction, you got it covered. And if you go up, you got them covered. You go to the down, which doesn't necessarily mean in the ground, but below us in the universe, up, down, back, forth, this way, we got it covered. And then we cover, last but not least, number 7 in the number of things of honor is ourselves in our own spirit and how it connects to the other 6. And you give honor. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It ain't about worship. Remember, we ain't worshiping squat, but we are honoring the universe in all directions. And what's wrong with that? And you can use your own words. Allow the universe to speak through you. Your spirit guide will help you. And one of the things is, and I went through this, I ain't going to say this out loud because I'm afraid there ain't nobody around. I don't want to mess it up. What are the spirit? And the spirit said, listen, this is before I was Hawkeye. I was still Dave, okay? And I'm trying to learn this. And they said, Dave, to learn this, you got to trust. You got to trust your connection. And then when I became Hawkeye, I was like, whoa, yeah, buddy. Wow. Accepting that it's there, allowing it to come into you, and you release it back to the universe. Yes, it takes practice. Yes, and practice often. Go in the back room. If you're on a roll, the kids might hear me. Okay, go in the backyard. Weird Al Yankovic and on the other side of the fence can hear you talking to yourself. Okay, it doesn't matter. What matters is always your intent. It's your peace. So when you start your ceremony, start with peace. I come in peace. I bring peace. I will leave in peace. Now, I went to a particular spot to do the ceremony. If you're just going out in the back and you've got your little spot, you can still say it. You can go into your room and say, I come in peace because you wish to, and there could be entities in your bedroom. So you always state that you come in peace for your ceremony. Light a candle, light some sage, say a prayer, send send good thoughts into the universe. I come in peace, I leave in peace, and peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters. So I didn't want to make this a long drawn out thing, and I'm coming up on my hour. But there are many different layers that would be true, but some things are like they're really close, but rituals ain't where we are. We are very much with ceremony. And our personal ceremony means a lot to the universe, because when you give of yourself, whoops, here we go. When you give up yourself freely, so you don't have to go visit anybody, you don't have to go anywhere, although you may need to. But if you give of your energy freely in a prayer, in a mini ceremony, you don't have to go outside and light a fire and do all that. Just light a candle. It's your intent. And if you bring your awareness, that candle will be as big as a fire out in the yard, because your awareness can expand that candle in the spirit realm to be, if you think big fire, it's a bonfire. Because when you close your eyes and you just see the light through your eyelids, you don't know how big it is. So in your memory, you can expand that to encompass a great big area, and that there are entities and beings around you sharing that fire with a single candle. So is it imagination? Partially, but it's your intent. I want a big fire, and lots of good entity folks like us are around this fire. And like I said in previous video, I included in my prayer all of the members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, y'all. Now I'm going to do another video later on about this, and I'm going to ask you specifically. I know many of you have already said so, but it's going to be one video, probably not very long, but I'm going to ask your permission to, and I want you to just say, I agree, in the chat room, as many of you have already done. But there's a weird reason they haven't quite told me, but it's that anybody who comes afterwards, I'll do a 5-minute video and say, listen, I intend to do a ceremony, which is coming up, by the way, and I'm going to do a Stonehenge kind of thing to put positive energy. Now, I could do it someplace else, but I paid the taxes, so this is my place, at least while I'm alive. So I'm the caretaker here. So I could do it someplace else, but it's really easy, much easier to do it here. So, but with your permission, in a separate video, I want to include you all in the prayer, okay? And I can kind of list like who you are in the chat room with like not having to really say your name. But anybody that's in this particular video who agrees, see, then I can take that energy and put it into the ceremony, versus a person here and a person there. No. If I ask your permission in one video, then I've got y'all up here and say, okay, these 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, whoever agrees, I can, in my little memory bank here, I can take it with me to the prayer. Okay. So, because maybe not all subscribers to this channel would say, well, I don't know if I really want him to include me in his prayer. I understand. It's okay. But at the same time, I think it would be so much more powerful to have everyone to agree and know that I'm fixing to do this thing, whether it's tomorrow or the next day, but that I am going to do it. And my intent, I will state to you all, my intents, purposes, and why it's doing, blah, 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 blah. And that by you giving your consent at that video, I don't know. Since they told me the other day it would help, versus just like, this person, I don't know. No. If I do it this way, then I can actually encapsulate your prayers in a thought. That's the best I can do. But we're creating medicine wheels here for the earth with absolute positive intent. And the instructions on how to build a couple. There are many different ways to build a medicine wheel, and I will do a separate video on that as well. But in with all the prayers and intent with these medicine wheels, it is to bring healing. Um, Mother Earth is changing, and the instructions that Breaking Dawn and I both have been getting is that these medicine wheels, they will help heal, but it's more of that what's coming, it will help to preserve. It's not, it's a combination healing, thingy, blah, blah, future event, past event from things that have already happened to the planet. But it's, it's the biggest thing we can all focus on. It's to strengthen Mother Earth and the energies and the good vibrations. So that, and with that, but anyway, so Michelle, I love you all. I do. Marie, hi, how are you? You see, I know y'all are agreeing, and that's great. But so, and if you can't catch the video live, you can catch it later on and just type in the comments, I agree. And Breaking Dawn and I both will understand. But thank you ahead of time, because as Brian was saying, and Trina also in Milky Way Weekly or Messengers video early this evening, what can we do to positively do something for the planet? Well, I've got this piece of property. I've got a bunch of rocks I've collected from all over the United States. I mean, some of them I brought back from Oregon and Washington, and a rock or two from Arizona. I'm sorry, Nevada, from the deserts out there, from Arkansas, from the Carolinas, North Georgia, the mountains, all over the place. And now I understand why I've been collecting them is because they're going to be used for these medicine wheels. The different vibrations of the different types of rocks and their makeup is going. I've been collecting for the last 40 years these rocks, and some of these rocks are like great big rocks. They're not little pieces of stone you can carry around easily. But now I understand that the reason I've collected these are for medicine wheels. So our intent is to within our physical, we still got some clearing to do down in the woods and some other things to be rearranged. But as soon as we possibly can, we're going to be putting up more medicine wheels and medicine circles, prayer wheels, and if anybody gets in the neighborhood, you're absolutely welcome to come and join us with a ceremony. Or as the understanding of a medicine wheel is, you travel the wheel by yourself with your own prayers and your own spiritualness. And so our intent is to have several different patterns and types of medicine wheels here. And I was joking about it the other day, but not so much. From the sky, it would look like, crop circles, the way we're sort of going to lay these things out there in the world. So, but when the helicopters do fly over, they're going to look down and go, "What the hell is that?" But bunch of aliens done been here. I'll giggle about that. I've had helicopters over my place. I got busted by helicopters. That's an old story, but to the point. So let the helicopters come again and look at my crop circles or my stone circles. They're going to really flip out. So, but anyway, so my friends, I love you. I do. I honestly have a butt cramp, and um, I need to take a break here. But I love you all. We love you all. We do. Thank you so much for your comments, your good thoughts, your well wishes, and continue to spread it with each other. As Milky Way Weekly and Trina and all of us we've talked about before, we may not be able to make a huge dent in things, but we're making a dent with things between us. And because of us, Ween, thank you very much. Michelle and Marie, Ian, Divine Living. Hey, how are you? Be nice if I could travel or have a weekend vacation out that way just to see. So different, but I am working. my arse off right now. Divine living, yeah. But just know that you never know when things will change. But to the point, any of y'all that is subscribed to this channel, you're absolutely welcome. Just give us a little notice, and we can put you in a tent. But you're absolutely welcome to travel the wheel with us or by yourself, as the case may be. And absolutely, will it would be glad to share in stuff. Now, I don't know if this will ever happen, but I have known several Native American folks who actually carry rocks, and they travel and they go to different places, different powwows, and they will build these medicine wheels at these locations so people don't have to travel if they make it to the powwow or whatever, that they can actually experience a medicine wheel. So I would love to be able to do that, but that's a ways off. It's more important right now to put something on the earth, sort of permanent, in a place that I consecrated almost 40 years ago. So 36 years. So for 36 years, I've been sending prayers in this one particular area of my woods, and it's the circle. The trees have grown up in a circle, almost like a real circle. You know, there is a little odd in and out, but if you was to like hold a rope in the middle and go around, it'd be pretty dead. And I didn't plan them; Mother Nature did. That's what makes it special and sacred to me. So, but with that, so the medicine wheels are going to go in this sacred where Mother Earth planted her trees by herself, in this sacred place, to try to just emphasize it and so forth. So, but anyway, I find myself repeating things just in a different way. So, thank you all. Blessings. Thank you for hanging out this Saturday morning. Actually, it's Sunday morning, Saturday night. Marie, it might be different for you down under. I always send my prayers out when I do ceremonies. Some of you, I remember your names, and you kind of are in my mind when I send out prayers to the universe. There's Ian, there's Michelle, there's Divine, there's Marie, and um, uh, and I really don't want to leave anybody out. But Scratch, um, Jody, yes, you all are on the list. Lady Spitfire, um, Gerald. So if I've missed your name, I'm you haven't been missed in the prayers. So, but I will do a short video to do that agreement thingy. And I mean, I already get it. Y'all have been so kind and say, yeah, go ahead. You can use me. And I will let you know as soon as I'm through with the ceremony to say, okay. And you can look me up on Google Earth kind of thing. I doubt you would see the rocks, but you would at least know the area, so that if you wanted to say, well, I wish my prayer upon the wheel, because if I include you in the prayers when I make the wheel, guess what? You're already kind of attached. So then you could send energy to it from wherever location that you are, and or possibly receive that energy. Not sure. I honestly don't know how this is going to work. I just have instructions to do it. Okay. But it's positive. I can absolutely tell you that. I feel so much better after putting them 5 rocks down on the ground. You have no idea the anguish I have been through these last couple of weeks. I am so glad the spirits are happy about this. I got a little bit more to do that tomorrow, the next day, but pretty much they're like, I'm like that. I'm glad that's over. That task. But my friends, thank you so much. Have a blessed tomorrow. Have a blessed day after that, and going on and so forth. Sweet pea, absolutely thank you. Cosmic hugs from us here and down in South Georgia. Stay warm, stay healthy. And of all the things too, just to throw this in at the back end of this, and I'm going to do a little short video about this, about prepping. People are like, oh, I got to stockpile food. Here's how you start preparing. Prepare yourself for 1 meal a day and a little snack on either side. Why? because we overeat. As human beings, we do not need 3 solid meals a day. You want to prepare for lean times? Go to 1 good meal a day. Most of the world, people in the jungles and in 1 meal a day, they're like tickled to death. And they can run for 2 or 3 hours in this jungle. Can you do that? No, because we eat too much. And many times we eat the wrong things. The second other thing about whatever may be coming, you can prepare by not eating so much. Well, I don't really look, have a couple cookies. Well, I'm got a little hunger pain. Okay, so pick something, but just eat 1 or 2. And your stomach will shrink down, you'll lose a little bit of weight, you'll feel better. Trust me, I've done it. From 250 to actually I've lost a little bit more weight, I noticed. But I'm down to about 165 pounds from 250. I absolutely feel better. I split wood today for at least a good hour, so it's like I'm 67. There are people falling over who are younger than me. I got relatives, brothers and sisters, not half my age, but they can't keep up with me because I refuse to give up. But the thing is that there are things that we can do that will, when I get hungry, I'll go eat something. But maybe I'll just fry up an egg, 1 egg. Maybe I'll make a little egg and cheese sandwich, and that's good. Later on, I'll have a meal. But in the meantime, I'm just going to do a little snack. And I don't mean snack all day neither. But you want to prepare? The next thing is learn what's around you naturally. Find out what's already growing. I got stuff on my acreage every year. I try to plant this plant, this plant, this plant. They don't come up. But every year, certain plants come up in my yard without me seeding them. And some of them are edible, especially this time of year. You boil them up like a collard green or a turnip or a mustard green. And so it's like there are a lot of places that have things. If you're starving, you may be sitting in a bountiful area with food all around you, and you'd starve to death. You could be in the middle of a boat in a lake and not have enough water. I mean, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. But to the point though, if you're not aware of your surroundings, you're gonna die. I mean, I don't mean that literally, but to the point though, if something, how to be prepared, know what's around you. Always be aware. Your awareness around you and around your area where you live. You get, if something happens, are you going to be able to make it 300 miles to some place? And you going to know what's there when you get there? Or are you going to take everything? Well, if you knew what to eat, I mean, as much as I don't want to have to rely on swamp cabbage, I got a crap load. There are thousands of palmetto bushes, probably in my yard, in my backyard alone, not counting what's in down the river here and the other rivers. Palmettos down in Florida, all over the place. Do you know what swamp cabbage is? Do you know how to prepare it? Do you know how to cut it? Do you know what would you eat it? Well, if I'm hungry, I'd rather eat swamp cabbage than I would a human being. But if you don't know how to do it, cook it, or whatever, then you're going to eat somebody. Because you don't know what else to do. Well, I'm going to eat grandma. She's not long for this world anyway. But to the point though, so know what's around you. Pay attention. Get involved in your world, your spiritual world, your locale. Be prepared. Lots of books, a lot of online stuff. Check it out. Go out. Look for yourself. Down here in the South, the broadleaves are coming out. So people say, well, what are you planting this time of year for? Well, because greens do really well down here in our area, up to about Macon, So if you live south of the Macon line, in Georgia or anywhere, Alabama or any place like that, you have rarely mild kind of winters where a little bit of plastic over what you're growing outside, greens come up, and they're cheap. I spent what $26 I think, but I bought 2 bunches of onions, which we set some of them out, and we got garlic that we're setting out. These are all bulbous things. They're coming up, especially down in here. Pay attention to what's around you. So can you plant greens? Yeah, should have already planted them, but um, got her done today, and we're preparing to do some more and covering some of the potatoes that are out there. I've got volunteer potatoes coming up, so yeah, let's help them out. Um, but planted broccoli and spinach and several other things. 7 things actually. Um, Put in the garden, and in a we're supposed to get some really cold weather in next week. So I'm kind of going to prepare some more of the ground, but I'm not going to try to push planting it right away. But it'll be ready for when new moon comes in 2 weeks, and I'll put that planting in then. Of the same things I planted, but it's staggered. So I'll have this group come up now, and then 2 weeks later I'll plant, and then I'll have, if these don't come up for some reason, well, I only got to wait 2 weeks because these, fingers crossed, these will come up. But anyway, and that's always a good thing to do, is to stagger plant. Don't plant everything, at one time. Stagger it a little bit, a couple of weeks. But anyway, so I hope this does you well. We always send our love and our prayers. Thank you, Scratch, Divine Living, and everybody, all y'all out there. So, butt cramp, time for an old man to go pee. And so close with the prayer as always. And I sincerely do mean this. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the blessings, the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will accept, receive, and share with your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, and all of your relations the knowledge, the wisdom, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives and relations, both past, present, and future, will accept, receive, and continue to share the wisdom, the knowledge, and the awareness that they have learned, that you have learned from the universe. So continued blessings to all of you. Keep up the good work. Honest to goodness. Cheers, everybody. Cosmic hugs, and I'll be back with you soon, I promise. And Millie Cow, if you watch this to the end of here, I've got your subject coming up soon too. So blessings, y'all. Till next time, from South Georgia, this is Hawkeye Two Feathers, your absolute humble servant, breaking dawn in the background, giving spiritual support as always. TTFN from us to you. Bye, y'all. See you.